Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Get Your Happy podcast. I am your host, Tanya, and I'm giving you all the tips and lessons for organic healing after trauma to get your happiness back. And so today's episode is going to be about intimacy in trauma. If you had the pleasure to tune into Organic Conversations, the first premiere was this month in February, I believe, right before Valentine's Day. And Organic Conversations are going to be exclusively to YouTube. So if you do listen to me on SoundCloud or Apple iTunes, remember to come on over to YouTube at the Get Your Happy podcast, or you can find it under Tanya B. Drake, and you'll find my episodes there. So any audio versions you can always find in a YouTube format. However, Organic Conversations, I believe I will keep exclusively to YouTube. So in that episode, in Organic Conversations, the idea is to present questions, and it's questions that I myself I am answering. That way you gain some insight from myself, and it's questions that I may have gathered from friends or co-working partners, and from my community, something I may have read in a book. And so I wanted to put together some questions and answer them organically, as if we're having a conversation or sharing a dialogue. Of course, you can always leave comments down below, or email me any questions that you may have. If you follow me on Tanya's Art of Happy on my Instagram, you can always ask questions there, and we can share some dialogue. But it's me allowing you to get to know me and my perspective on any topics that come up. And so that episode was called Love Taught Me. And love, with the month of being February, I figured, why not? What did love teach me? Because we don't just learn from our spouses, but we learn from or our partners, but we learn from our community, from our parents, from our friends. One of the questions was define intimacy and love. And so as I'm learning, a lot of people have different definitions of it. And for me, intimacy is the art of presenting the expression of love in action form. So I wanted to continue on with that topic. Before we get into spring, I wanted to continue on with that topic, intimacy in trauma. It is a thing, and sometimes we don't know it's a thing until we start to feel something. So I wanted to talk about it. I noticed I am starting to see the word intimate quite often in memes and conversations and posts. And it's, come closer, let's get intimate, or, let's create an intimate space, or the venue was nicely quaint and intimate. So I'm hearing this word quite often, and I'm saying, okay, well, this word has a big meaning, and what is the meaning behind it? So that's what we're going to talk about today, is intimacy and where trauma shows up. Because trauma can definitely appear in a space of intimacy. So while my tablet is getting dialed up, I'll go over some announcements. So if this is your first time tuning in here on YouTube, make sure you like this video if you find it helpful, and remember to share it if you think there's someone that is going to be in need of this content and the information that's being provided. Make sure to subscribe. If you are here, then we got a connection already. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That'll really help my channel out, to help it grow and grow the community of the Get Your Happy podcast. Also, as a certified life coach, And this coming May, it's going to be 1 year. 1 year anniversary for the Happy Deck. That is a 33 guided deck. It's a 33 guided deck of intuitive messages for healing and lessons, and there's crystal information in there if you're into that, quotes if it motivates you, and there are exercises on each individual card. So this deck has now gone internationally, so thank you so much for people that are spreading the word about the Happy Deck. So I am currently sold out. However, they will be back in stock this spring, so I am very excited to see that back in stock and to see it in your hands. And remember to tag me on any photos that you have with your deck. Also, I have another deck that I'm currently working on, so super stoked to get that out. Pocket of Happiness. So if you just get motivation off of affirmations, you love affirmation, that's your thing, then Pocket of Happiness is definitely going to be a thing for you. It's going to have affirmations on each individual deck. So think of the Happy Deck in smaller form. It's very travel friendly, and a nice little affirmation. If that's all you need, then the Pocket of Happiness. So that will also launch this spring. Super excited, super excited. So we will get started as soon as I get into my folder here. Thank you for your patience. Let's see. So the question is, what is intimacy? That's the first thing, we hear, like I said, we hear about it, we see it in posts and readings. So what is it? Excuse me. I'm actually going to grab a pillow and keep my alignment good. If you have a struggle with alignment in your year, I definitely have a podcast episode about alignment, how to stay aligned. So make sure you tune into that one as well. All right. So intimacy, what is it? What is it? Ask yourself that. What is intimacy? So Dr. Karen Smith, she has a TED Talk, and I'll link that down below. And I'm just going to adjust my camera just a tad bit. So I'll link that down below. But Dr. Karen Smith describes intimacy as the foundation of love. I think that's brilliant. It's perfect. Because that is the first, think about that. That is the first building block of love. In whatever expression that it is, that is the first beautiful piece of love. That is our first expression of love, right? Is the foundation, being intimate. And remember, it's the action of love. And it is also the foundation of a relationship. So I apologize. So not just of love, but intimacy is the foundation of a relationship. So whatever relationship you have, that relationship has to be built on intimacy. But what is it? Again, what is it? We experience intimacy during birth by trusting that our parental figures will protect and provide for us. It is our basic need for survival. If at any time these basic needs are not met, we experience our first intimate trauma. So think about that. So as we're getting deeper into what intimacy is, first think about one, it is the foundation of every relationship. So that is the relationship with your family, right? With your friends, right? With our coworkers, with our community, and we'll get into that as well. But that is the foundation. That is the first initial piece. It's openness. Intimacy is vulnerability, it's trust, it's closeness. If you're familiar with the 5 love languages, it's quality time, right? It's passion, it's solitude, it's desire, it's connection, it's authenticity. And we talk about a lot of authenticity on this channel, right? On this podcast. It's awareness, it's sex, it's physical touch. Again, that's another love language. Communication, another love language. And if you haven't taken the love language quiz, I will also link that down below. That'll give you some insight as to how you receive and give love, right? And that'll give you some more insight as to how you show up in a space of intimacy. Okay, so that is what intimacy is. It's all these expressions of love. It's the action behind love, physical touch, being close, being vulnerable, being open, sharing, right? It's also being within solitude. You're having an intimate connection with yourself. Okay, so now that we know, we have an idea, we know what intimacy is, and we know where it begins, right? We talked about that. That's that first initial step in birth, right? We're trusting our legal guardians and our parental figures to present that space of intimacy, right? And so intimacy is the physical action expressed for the emotional expression of love or deep passion. So now, who's involved? It's going to be your parental figures, your legal guardians, your siblings, your social circles, your teachers, your mentors, your life partners, right? Your co-workers, your professional partners. Get this, your physicians. Yes, when you're having that conversation, think about that time when you're in that room with your doctor, your physician, or your holistic practitioner, your nutritionist, and you're having that intimate conversation about your diet, about your health, about your wellness, right? You're trusting that they're going to keep that information between you two, right? You're being open, you're being vulnerable, you're sharing any diagnosis or ailments or challenges that you may be going through, right? Okay, so these are, and sorry, I'm getting alerts and messages coming through my tablet if you hear that. But this is thinking on a humanitarian level, but also think of intimacy in this way and ask yourself, have you noticed any feelings or blocks when it comes to financial assets? That's another intimate relationship. You have a relationship with your finances, your material gains, your cars, your home, any other possessions, your materials around you, and also your pets, nature, right? It's how you treat things around you that is also an intimate relationship. Okay, how you treat things. Remember, how you react to the world also translates how you are viewing the world through your lens. How is that demonstrated? Again, because it goes back to how it was translated to your parental figures. Now, for any reason, those parental figures were, say, toxic, dysfunctional, and I'm just using a broad term, for any reason it displayed in that way, think about why or how, and how you show up to those financial assets, right? Or how you show up to nature. Are you littering or are you abusing the world around you, besides your siblings or your coworkers, right? So how does it play a part when it comes to trauma, right? Now that we have an understanding that it could be, in relation to how someone may have treated us or said something that could have negatively impacted us in some way, or in something that was hurtful or damaging. How does that block? Because that's really what it is. It's a block within us. Are we being closed off? Are we open? Are we, do we feel a certain way when it comes to, expressing our feelings or sharing our feelings, right? Can we have, a clear sense of how we express our feelings? Or do we feel, a little closed off if someone's approaching us? Are they too close? And so this is how it can show up in some sort of violation of our intimate space, right? So bullying, sexual assaults, abandonment, neglect. So again, going back to, if a parental figure may have abandoned us in any sort of way, did we feel, betrayed by a partner, deceit, domestic abuse, violation, maybe someone in school, maybe they, went into our locker and